So we left off yesterday here, which says find the exact values of the indicated variable. So if I have a triangle that inside does not have a special right angle, which means a right triangle, which means it's not a 30, 60, 90 triangle and it's not a 45, 45, 90 triangle, then the only way to solve it is using SOHCAHTOA. So if I want to find the missing measurements on this triangle, first of all, if it said solve the triangle, it means find every missing piece. This just says find the exact values of the indicated variable. So if it had said solve the variable, solve the triangle, I would have also had to find that angle. To do that, I would just do 90 minus 32, so that would be 58 degrees. Okay, so if it says solve, it means find all the missing parts. But for this one, I just want to find these variables. So if I want to find x, I'm going to take the angle they originally gave me, because at least I know that is right, which is 32. And I'm going to pick x, and then they have to give you at least one side, right? So they gave me the 7.8. So in relationship to the 32, where is 7.8? Opposite. And where's the x? Hypotenuse. So think back to your SOHCAHTOA. Which of the trig functions would I use that has opposite and hypotenuse? Sine, good. So the sine of 32 degrees equals the side opposite, which is 7.8, over the hypotenuse, which is x. If the number's in the bottom, I would just multiply it on both sides. If the number's in the top, the long way around is multiply by x. I'd get x times the sine of 32 equals 7.8, and then divide both sides by the sine of 32. And at the end, I put that in. So you don't want to ever type in the sine of 32, take that number and round it. I don't ever want to round while I'm working. I want to do 7.8 divided by the sine of 32. And I get x equals, now I have to round it, 14 let's do 10th. Okay, but it will tell you in the directions. We're going to do 14.7. Has to be in degrees, because this, right, is a degree. Yeah. You can, I have seen problems that do have radians in those measurements. They're not in the homework on the website or anything like that. They do exist, but not in the stuff you're going to do. So the shortcut for the solving this is, if the number's in the bottom and the variable's in the top, we multiply. If the number's in the top, then we take that number and divide it by the trig function on the other side. So you don't have to go through the process of multiplying by 8 and then dividing by sine of 32. Just know if the number's in the top, we take the number and divide it by the trig function on the other side. Okay, so now I need to find y, and technically I have choices, right? I could actually use the Pythagorean theorem because I know the other two sides. Or I can set it up kind of the way we just did. What do you think is a better option? Why would you do that over Pythagorean theorem?
Because you already have the 7.8.
So that is already set in stone. I know the 7.8 is there, and I know 32 is right. If I got 14.7 wrong, I'm going to continue to get the other side wrong. That's one thing. Two, even though I got it right, I rounded it, which makes it less accurate to get the third side. So unless that is a whole number that you get for that side, do not use Pythagorean theorem. You can use Pythagorean theorem to check it, but don't use Pythagorean theorem to find it. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to again use the 32. This time I'm using 7.8 and y. Relationship there is opposite and adjacent, which means tangent. Tangent of 32 equals 7.8 over y. And we just said if the number's in the top, shortcut is take that number and divide it by the tangent of 32. So 7.8 divided by tangent of 32. And I get y equals 12.48, which is 12.5. We remember this stuff, yes? Yeah? Okay. So again, if it says solve the triangle, it means find all the missing sides and missing angles. If it just said solve for x and y, you're just looking for x and y. Good morning, Amanda. Just give your parents a heads up. I marked absent, okay?
Okay. We could have started by finding y, right? And we just
Sure.
use
Yep.
cosine. And you could also use the 58, or
Yes.
it's better to do 32.
So I would go with the 32 because I know 32 is right, and sometimes even smart people make mistakes and stuff like that. right?
Right.
So I would stick with the one that's given to me, but you can absolutely also use the 58.
Okay.
And again, like I wouldn't recommend using Pythagorean theorem from the beginning, but you could certainly use it to check, like 7.8 squared plus 12.5 squared should be pretty close to 14.7 squared. It may not be exact because all of that was rounded, but it should be pretty close. Okay, then we get into the application of it, right? The word problems. Yay. Okay? Which really the only foundation you need to know besides SOHCAHTOA is angle of elevation and angle of depression. So angle of elevation is from horizontal up. If I'm talking about angle of elevation from the ground, I'm talking from the ground up. If I'm talking about angle of elevation, this little person is on their balcony, then I'm talking about that level up. That would be angle of elevation. Think about it. Elevation goes up, right? If you are in an elevator, up. Okay? And angle of depression is what people screw up all the time. Angle of depression is from eye level or horizontal down. So it would be this angle here. This is what tends to happen. People say, somebody's standing on the edge of a cliff, and my artistic ability is really showing today, okay? And they have an angle of depression looking down at, I don't know, an animal. And they do this. And they put the angle of depression here. That is wrong. Angle of depression goes from eye level down. So angle of depression would go here. Okay? It is the thing everybody screws up. It's eye level down or horizontal down. So if you're standing up and you're looking down at something, it would be from your eye level down. Okay? If there's a balloon up in the air and they see something down, it's from that point horizontal down to the ground. Okay? That's the biggest mistake people make on this stuff. And then obviously just not knowing how to draw pictures out sometimes. So some of them will give you a picture. This one says the irregular blue shape is a pond. The distance across the pond A is unknown. Find this distance find this distance. A surveyor took the measurements shown in the picture. What's the distance across the pond? So I'm trying to find A, distance across the pond, and I have 24 and 125 feet. So what trig function do I need to use? In respect to the 24, A is where?
Tangent.
Tangent. A is opposite. 125 is adjacent. So I'd say the sine of 24 equals A. No, I say the tangent of 24 equals A over 125. Now the number's in the bottom, so in the calculator I just do 125 times the tangent of 24. And I get A is 55 point. Did I tell you what's round to? No, let's do nearest tenth again. They should tell you what's round to. 55.7 feet.
I did it using the 66 that I know.
Say again?
I did it using the 66 that I know from angle B.
You can, but then you have to flip the other side. Then your ratio should be flipped. Was your ratio flipped? Oh, yeah, that's fine. You just did extra work you didn't need to do, but it still works.
No, because I thought we had to find all the points. So I didn't
Nope,
use
yeah.
the flip.
Usually word problems are looking just for one measurement. Easy stuff, right? Test-wise, it's not going to need feet. You're just going to put the numeric part of that, and it will tell you what's around, so pay attention to the rounding directions, okay? And then you get problems like this. The building is 21 meters high, and it casts a shadow 25 meters long. Find the angle of elevation of the sun to the nearest degree. So I would say, like, pretend that you don't even see that picture, because a lot of times you're not going to get a picture. I'm not going to give you one on the test or quiz. And it says a building is 21 meters high. So I've got a building, right? Here's my building. And it's 21 meters high. And it casts a shadow. So if it casts a shadow somewhere on the ground, either after it or before, it doesn't matter, it depends where the sun is, right? Is 25 meters long. Find the angle of elevation of the sun. Now we tend to put angle of elevation of the sun up here because the sun's usually here, okay? But it is the same angle here. So you can always put angle of elevation of the sun on the ground. It's the same. And this is the theta that we're looking for. Now we don't have the angle, but we do have the trig function. And this is where the inverse buttons come from. So if I had set up a relationship here, 21 is opposite, 25 is adjacent, I would say the tangent of theta equals 21 over 25. To solve for theta, you use the -1 buttons on your calculator. So if I wanted to figure out what theta is, I would say tan -1 of 21 over 25. So when we're looking for the angle, and those are our shift buttons, I would do second tangent 21 divided by 25. And it says to the nearest degree, it'd be 40 degrees. Good morning, Taylor. Good morning, Derek. Guys, give your parents a heads up. I marked you absent. So again, if you are looking for the actual side length, you're using your regular sine, cosine, tangent buttons. If you're looking for an angle, you're using your -1s. So if I had a triangle, theta's here, and this time I have 5 and I have 13, and I want to find that angle, now this is opposite and adjacent. Opposite and hypotenuse, right? So it would be the sine of theta equals 5 over 13, and I would do sine -1, 5 divided by 13, and I would get 22.6 degrees. So again, finding the side, regular button, finding the angle, -1s. We remember all this stuff, yeah? Right? Yes? Questions? Everybody's good? All right, we're going to do quizzes to practice. Because I'm tired of staring at your faces and nobody talking to me. Yeah. Yeah.
If it's the angle elevation, why does the line go down?
So elevation is from ground up.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
It's to the sun.
Say that again.
It's to the sun, not from the sun.
Correct.
Okay.
I wanted to answer a question that came up about this. This was like number 2 on the homework. So when the instructions say to keep things exact, which is what a lot of the questions on your quiz and test are going to say, it means that you don't use a calculator to square root numbers. So you can find the missing side here, and you can use the calculator to do the 18 squared and the 27 squared part. But so 27 squared is 729, 18 squared is 324. If I add 324 and 729, 729, I get 1053, and that's underneath the square root, okay? So then if I want to see if that breaks down, the easiest one is, obviously it's not divisible by 2, but if I check the 3's, if I add up the digits, 1 plus 5 is 6 plus 3 is 9, that is divisible by 3. So if I divide 3 into this, it'd go 3, 5, 1, and then that is also divisible by 3, so it's 3, 1, 1, 7, still divisible by 3, 3, 3, 9, and then that would be 3 and 13. So then I can simplify this. There's 2 3's to come out, so it would be 3 times the square root of 13, or 9 square root 13. So that is what it means by keeping it exact. That third side has to be kept that way. You can't use a calculator to find that decimal. If you do it that way on your quiz, it's going to get marked wrong. So just be really, really careful. If it says exact, it means exact. If it says to round to whatever decimal place, then you can use it. But these kinds of questions won't be there. They're probably not going to be this big of numbers, but you will see something that you do have to like square root simplify. So then from there, like my sine would be 27 over 9 root 13. This 3 goes into both, actually 9 goes into both those, 1 and 3. So it'd be 3 root 13 gets rationalized, 3 root 13 over 13. On a fill in the blank quiz, this would be 3 square root 13 divided by 13. That's how that would be written.